Right, hello and welcome to my training split. So I filmed one video today already. That was the push day that you've seen earlier. That will go out next Wednesday. This will go out the following Sunday. So this is literally just gonna be me sat in my kitchen breaking down my entire training split. So I've got my logbook here, got my iPad with a Google Sheets doc that I've literally written about 10 minutes ago whilst I was eating a meal that just lays out the split, because I know a lot of people aren't gonna want to sit here and listen to me podcast style just talk about my split. You're going to want to see it laid out on paper, because that will help people understand things a little bit better. So I've written that all out, so we'll go through that. Now I have written it very loosely. I've not gone into too much detail, all typed out, because the last thing I want from this is you, the person watching, to take my split, think it's the best split possible, and go and copy it, okay? This I've designed for me, for my needs, for my gym, to get me to my goals. So it's very specific to my split as a pro trying to get to the Olympia. Now, I have a weight cap, so I can be at 212 pounds on stage. That's the heaviest I can be, which means I've got, I don't want to put a number on it, but I've got weight to gain, but only a very limited amount of weight I can gain. So that means that all the weight I'm gaining needs to go to specific areas in order to make sure I'm as competitive as can be. Basically, I don't need any more fucking forearm, don't need any more calves. So yeah, please just don't copy this. This is perfect for me, it's not gonna be perfect for you. Disagree with this all you want, this works, this is what I'm running. So, you know, keep your comments to yourself. Sipping on some, it is actually this fruity whey isolate. Tropical punch flavour. No fat, no lactose, and sugar-free. It's lovely, 25 grams of protein. Got some ice in there, it's nice and refrigerated. You can see the condensation on it. First time trying that flavour. Very refreshing. Tastes like a margarita cocktail without the alcohol. There is actually 20% off all whey protein right now on ESN, and 25% off all designer whey. So the designer whey is your typical whey protein. You've then got your clear wheys, your whey isolates, your Flexpresso, which is like a coffee protein. There's loads of options. All of it's 20 or 25% off. So Code Eagles, go and check that out. But I don't want this video to drag too much, so we're gonna get straight into it. As you should be able to see now, somewhere on screen will be my iPad screen, like I'm recording it. So you should be able to see that I've got Monday highlighted now. And you can see basically what I'm talking through as I'm talking through it. So Monday, I do chest and arms. Tuesday, I do back and quads. Wednesday, I have a rest day, and I also do tissue work on that rest day. So I do tissue work once a week. I used to do it post legs every single Friday. Now I'm doing it every single Wednesday morning, rest day, because I'll get into it, but I RDL on a Tuesday basically, and I want the tissue work the day after I RDL to help sciatica. But I'll get into that in a bit. Thursday push, Friday legs, Saturday pull, Sunday off, repeat. So it's a 7-day split, very straightforward. And I will just get straight into it really with the chest and arm session. So, I mean, in terms of my physique, what I need to bring up, it's really more size everywhere. Need a little bit more arms, but not so much anymore. They've caught up quite well. I need a lot more back, need a little bit more quad sweep, a little more posterior chain, lower back erectors, but really primarily my main lacking area is my back as a whole, lower back, upper back, back in general. And then 2 areas that I just need to bring up a little bit more quad sweep and a little bit more arms. So those are the principles really for this split. Now I train at Ultraflex Rotherham, which in my opinion is the best gym in Europe. It has the worst atmosphere of a lot of gyms, but the fucking kit is unmatched, right? You will not find a better equipped gym in the UK, and that includes trained by JP Time Shed, that includes anywhere. I've been to them all. Ultraflex Rotherham's the best. That's not bias. I didn't magically train at Ultraflex Rotherham, right? That's not my local gym. I have moved here specifically to train at that gym, right? And I've got the option. I'm very fortunate. I can move anywhere I need to. My job is mobile, right? I work from my laptop. So I can bodybuild anywhere. All I really need is a good gym. So I could go to the shed and live there and train there if I wanted to, but Ultraflex Rotherham is genuinely the best gym. So I'm very fortunate. You'll see here that I have specified which brands of kit I'm using. And I'm a little bit of an equipment nerd. I'm probably going to do an Ultraflex tour at some point, because I know there are tours on YouTube, but nobody's done an updated one, and it's changed a lot. So I'm thinking get a cameraman in, and I'll just do your ultraflex tour for you so you can see, but that's a later video. Now, chest and arms, I start with a priming exercise, prime pec deck, 2 sets. I do this on setting 4, so if you ever use prime equipment, you've got different loading points. I'm not going to go into details about how that works, it just changes the resistance profile. I do it on number 4 for those who want to know. The reason I do that, it's a priming exercise to start with. Number 4 means basically it's heavier here, so I'm really fresh. My ability to get the muscle short is very good, so I rinse it whilst I can. 2 sets there, get blood flow in, warm up the shoulder joints. I will also specify that all of these sessions I've written out here are purely the working sets I'm doing. This does not include any warm-up I do prior to I start lifting. This does not include any warm-up sets that I do. I'm not bothered about all of that, that's just boring shit, nobody cares. This is purely working sets that I do to build muscle. That simple. Every single set is to failure within different rep ranges. I'm not going into detail with rep ranges because it shouldn't really matter, because I don't want people to replicate this. And you can see all my rep ranges and stuff I do on Instagram. I post enough, you see enough of my training sessions, you know generally I operate on a top set, back off set style of training, so I don't need to go on all that. I just want to lay out the formula, the sets, so you get a general overview of my specific training, and then if you watch the rest of my videos, you'll understand, oh, he's training chest and arms today, this is the session, okay, top set of his flex leverage press, he's getting, 8 to 10 reps, whatever. You'll see that, you know that. This is just to give you a general overview. So, prime pec deck to start. Then my first press now is a flat flex leverage press. This is a new piece in ultraflex rather, the OG flex leverage. Converges really nicely, feels fantastic. I'm starting with a flat press at the moment on this push, on this mesocycle, because previously I've always prioritized an incline press first, which has worked, but my chest is lagging a little bit compared to my delts. And on an incline press, I tend to get a lot more front delt. If I go on the flat flex leverage first, it's very easy for me to keep my scapula pinned back and really press and just squeeze through my chest and get that elbow across the midline of the body and really activate my pec. So I'm prioritizing that movement first because I get more out of it. Second, I'm then going into an incline Smith press. I do this with a Mike Israetel, very style of training really. Really aggressive range of motion, all the way down to my chest, get as much of a stretch as I can. I pause, then I press. So I'm not ego lifting on that Smith machine. That's very much a time under tension, range of motion sort of exercise in there. Then I do the decline nitro fly. I'm going to loosely say decline because it's not quite, but it is a little bit more decline than flat. Again, another fly in there. You'll notice on some of these, it says ×1 set plus drop set, which means it's 1 set with a drop set. You'll notice on other exercises below it, for example, on the cuff Y raise, it says 3 sets plus drop set. That plus drop set, I only ever do on the very last set. So if there's 3 sets, it's only the 3rd set I'm drop setting, to make that very clear. I'm not going to repeat myself again. So yeah, cuff Y raise. Again, this is the only direct delt work in this session. My delts are quite a strong point to my physique. I don't need a lot of volume for them. I get everything I need to out of a cuff Y raise. I think it's the absolute best delt exercise you can do. Go and pick up a pair of cuffs from Hardbody. The narrow ones are the best. Code Eagles if you want them. Put them in your gym bag. That is all you need really to grow your delts. Yes, doing a delt press will help, but so will doing a heavy incline press, and you're going to, indirectly work a lot of front delt anyway. So just to isolate the medial head of your delt, and then you can isolate the rear delt through just specific exercises like these. Then the tricep work for this session, well, arm work really. I do 3 sets of a tricep push down. I do 2 sets of a tricep extension, and then I do 2 sets of a prime preacher curl with a drop set on the final set. So literally a push down here, just standard. Well, I actually do it there. I do a vertical one, very, very strict, keeping my chest up and shoulders back. Then I'll do one that's really prioritizing the stretch position for the tricep. So the nitro extension, you sort of locked in here and you extend. You'll have seen that in the push day I've just posted. A very nice machine. Again, the reason I program it that way around is because the nitro extension is very light here in the extension, but very heavy in the lengthen position. So structuring it that way, right, by the time I get onto it, I'm already fatigued. Getting my triceps short is difficult, so then going onto a machine where it's very stable, there's a back pad, there's a seat, I'm locked in, there's an elbow pad, all I can do is extend that way, and it gets easier as I get further out, which is also matching when I'm getting more fatigued. So it just makes sense, it allows me to train the muscle across the full resistance profile to complete failure. Prime preacher curl then, you've obviously got 3 different loading points. I load it 50-50 on pin 2 and pin 1, so the bottom and the middle pin. Reason being, I just like the feeling of having a bit of a heavy load in the contraction there and really squeezing my bicep peak. It's been working really well. I don't fuck about with it, just do that. Drop set it, when I drop set it, I just take all of the plates off pin number 2 and leave it all in the middle, so then it drops off a little bit more as I come up. That's chest and arms on a Monday. Back and quads now. This is the one I will typically call a density session, and I don't know what density means really. I just need more density on my physique. It's a bit of a touch-up session for me. It's probably my most important session of the week, but it includes a bit of hamstring, a bit of back, and a bit of quad. And that's a lot to call a title, so I just call it density, but really it's primarily just back and quads. Posterior chain and quads is probably a better name. I do a neutral grip pull down, so this is the Lat Bias, so starting with my lat work, prioritizing that, 2 sets of that. You will notice that on this pull day, there is absolutely nothing single arm, and that is because it's a very heavy session with some very taxing movements in there. So putting single arm exercises in there would just really drag that out. So I just keep it nice and straightforward, just move some heavy weight, connect with the heavy weight, and honestly, I've been growing more than I ever have through my back and my posterior chain, so clearly it's working. Neutral grip pull down, 2 sets to begin with, then I go into an RDL. Now, I've had some questions. I put a question box on Instagram as well, which I'll get to at the end of this video, asking you lot if you've got any questions specifically about training that I can answer in this video. So I'll do a Q&A basically at the end, going through those. There was one question I did see come up that relates to an RDL, or specifically hinging in general. Joseph, which deadlift variation do you think is the best to build the posterior chain overall? Now, impossible to answer, in my opinion. They're all going to do it. So the 3 variations I'd really look at are your typical deadlift, your stiff leg deadlift off the floor, and an RDL. Those are 3 I'm going to work with. Now, run them as and when you need them. The reason I don't deadlift specifically is because I'm very quad dominant when I deadlift, and my quads are significantly stronger than my lower back, meaning that my quads take over. Off the floor, I get a huge amount of quad drive, and then basically I'm pretty strong, but I'm not using the muscles I need to be using. Stiff leg is probably the best variation for me and my needs, because that puts a lot more load on my erectors and lower back. A little bit hamstring and glute, but primarily more lower back, especially if you do an SLDL off a slight block, which is what I was doing. However, that sort of gives me, because I get quite strong at that. Relative to me, I get quite strong at that. I pull sort of 6 plates for a heavy set. That caused a massive sciatica flare-up for me, which meant that I couldn't do it. So this time I'm running an RDL, because you get a lot of the same benefit. I have to go a little bit lighter, so I'm only doing 4 plates at the minute, which is very light for me. And really just prioritizing the movement and feeling my erectors and sort of hamstrings and everything work. But it's in there just as an erector loading movement. I just need to add some density to that whole area. So I don't really think there is a best one. I think pick one and run with it. And then once you've buried that one, run it into the round, just swap. You know, Trained by JP is a fantastic example of that. Reese Fit's a fantastic example of that. They pick one, they run it for as long as they can, absolutely get strong as fuck at it. Then when it's, you know, been buried, they've plateaued, they'll swap it out and run an RDL or run a stiff leg, and they just keep repeating that cycle. That's why they are so strong at what they do, because they just do that week in, week out consistently. So there's no best option. There's probably a more beneficial one for you right now, but ultimately I'd run a combination. Just pick one, run with it, then swap. So yeah, that's basically what I'm running an RDL at the minute. It doesn't give me sciatica, allows me to load my erectors very heavily, and it's feeling good. Then I go into a prime mid-back row. All sets are loaded just on pin 1, so I get like 7.5 plates on pin 1. The reason I do that one here is because it's a very mid-back / upper back movement. I can go very heavy on it, but it's also chest supported and seated, meaning that I'm not loading my erectors, because I've just finished an RDL, my lower back's fried. It allows me to move some heavy weight through my mid-back without loading my erectors. There's no hinging. Then I go to a low to high row for just 1 set, which is, I'll put a picture on screen of the row I'm on about. I don't know what to call it. I call it a low to high row. I do 1 set with the drops on there, sort of traps, upper delt, traps, ROMs, upper back, rear delts, that whole area. Then I do a superset. So you'll see, I do a seated cable row superset into a pull through. 2 sets of this superset. No real theory behind this apart from I absolutely love it. It feels fantastic. So it's a seated cable row, lat bias, so neutral grip, about shoulder width apart, just straight into a pull through to failure. You'll have seen me do these in YouTube videos recently. I absolutely love them, so much so that I run them on both my pull days, so my back and quads day and my other pull day. I run it both. Only 2 sets on this day, but generally the connection I get with that is one of my favorites right now for pull. So I rinse and repeat it twice a week. Feels great. Again, is that the most beneficial thing to do? Perhaps not, but it's feeling mint. My body's responding really well to it, so I'm going to keep running it. Then I do 1 set and a drop set of a rear delt fly. Rear delts have already really been hit quite a bit with the mid-back row, the low to high row, and then, you know, everything like that. So I don't need a huge quantity in there. I just do a little bit of touch up, and then I do 2 sets of the Gym Leco hip press. I've put leg press, realistically that's actually a hip press, and the Gym Leco one to be specific. Then it will be a Wednesday rest day with my tissue work. So again, I do that directly after the RDL because it just helps that whole sciatica thing. Because the reason I get sciatica is my lower back gets inflamed, it gets really tight, and then it starts pulling down the left side. So I can fix it, and this goes for 90% of people with sciatica out there. If you just stretch every single day and get regular tissue work, chances are you will be okay. It's just you have to stretch, which is the thing everybody doesn't like doing. Also, ice packs on my lower back to reduce the inflammation away from training. Feels fantastic. The reason you want to ice yourself away from training specifically is because ice is an anti-inflammatory. When you train, you want the inflammatory response. That's going to cause hypertrophy to occur. So if you train and then get straight in an ice bath, you're killing that inflammatory response and ultimately killing your hypertrophy and your muscle growth. So it's great for recovery, but it's not great for muscle growth, so don't do it. Do it away from the training, you know, 5-6 hours after training, go for it. So I will also ice my back the night after RDLs, a long time after training. Then I get my tissue work done the following morning. Since I've been doing that, it's been fantastic. Yes, it's only been a few weeks now, but normally if I was stiff-legged and not doing that, I'd be in bits right now. The next session is the one you saw on Sunday. This is the last one I filmed. I literally trained it today and filmed it today. Cuffed Y raise to start. Again, my favorite delta exercise, starting with an isolation, getting the muscle primed, getting the joints warm. 3 working sets there. Then I do the Atlantic shoulder press, then the flat Gym Leco press. Then I'll do a Cybex Bravo fly. So basically that's just a standing cable fly. The reason I do the Cybex Bravo one is because that's the cable machine with the back support. So I've got some stability there. Prime lat raise, superset with an Atlantis lat raise. I'm not going to go into detail about this session, just go back and watch the previous video as I explain everything there in a lot more detail. Tricep push down, nitro extension, and then a prime dip, just 1 set there. Now legs, again for me, yes I do a quad touch up on the Tuesday. That's really just has a little bit more frequency in there because my quads can flatten off quite easily. Having that frequency in there keeps them a little bit fuller throughout the week. But ultimately, I only really need 1 leg day a week, and that's because I can get a huge amount out of my leg sessions because of my ability to train and take sets to failure. So again, that's repeating what I said at the beginning. This training split is not for everybody. For most people out there, especially if you're a younger individual, only doing legs once a week with this volume probably won't be enough, unless you have an innate ability to train ridiculously hard. And take the ego out of it, okay? Because when I was 17, 18, I could not train. It's a skill. I didn't have the skill to train like I do now. It's developed over time when I've truly understood what failure is. When I was, 17, 18, I couldn't do that, so I needed more volume in there. Now I've got to the point where I can do less volume, but at a higher intensity. Is one better than the other? Who knows? But this is what I prefer doing right now. It allows me to perform less sets just at a higher intensity, and my legs have been responding fantastically. Probably one of my strongest body parts, my overall leg development. I just need a little bit more quad sweep on the outside, hence why I do the hip press earlier in the week, because that's very quad specific. I've moved this leg day around quite a bit recently. You've probably seen this in a full video. I can't remember if I filmed it or not, but I'm filming legs tomorrow with Danny for his YouTube channel, so that'll be out soon anyway. You can go and watch that. I'm going to bully him into following my split layout, so hopefully that is there. If that's out already, I'll put the link in the description. Atlantis seated ham curl, 2 sets. Prime leg extension, 2 sets. Prime leg extension is done on just setting 1. The reason I do those 2 to start with, 1, warm up my knee joints. So starting with a hamstring curl is the only thing that's going to warm up your patella joint without putting load through it. It also just primes the legs, gets blood flow in there, and gets me ready to go. Make sure I'm not going to injure myself. Also means my legs are quite fatigued going into the heavy pressing, the heavy leg press, the heavy squats. And that ultimately means I have to do less load, but I can get more from that load. So again, protecting my joints, not having to go as heavy, and just training intelligently rather than just ego. I'll now do a nitrum leg press as my primary movement. So I do 2 sets on there. A lovely piece of kit. You'll definitely see me use it before. Go watch the most recent leg day. Prime lying ham curl then. I do 2 sets with a drop set on the final set. That one I do on setting 4 for the first set and then setting 5 for the second set. So that just means it's heavier in the short for the first set and then it's lighter in the short for the second set. Again, just playing on that resistance profile to allow me to take it closer to failure across the full profile of the muscle. Then I will do 1 set of hip thrust. Now I do this quite light. Apparently I've lost the ability to highlight things. I do this glute drive quite light because it's more so just driving that connection. I don't need to develop my glutes more. I just like to have one thing in there to get a little bit of blood flow through them and really focus on my ability to contract them, because when I'm on stage, I need shredded glutes, I need detail. I need a decent level of muscularity and maturity there to be able to get properly stripped out glutes that you need for classic physique. So just 1 set per week on those. Then I do 1 set of pendulum squat right now. This may increase to 2 when food's a little bit higher and my ability to recover is a little bit better. But right now I can get everything I need to out of 1 set of pendulum squat. Like, that is my bread and butter, a pendulum squat. Love it. If I could only do 1 leg movement for the rest of my life, that's probably my favourite. Is it the best overall? Probably not. It's just I get 0 pain from it. I'm just built to pendulum squat biomechanically. It feels fantastic, so I love it. I do 1 set there. I've moved that to the end of the session because I got very strong with it. I was doing 7.5 plates and the machine wasn't going to tip over. I'm sure some of you saw that on Instagram. Like, it wasn't bolted to the ground that it needed to be, and it was going to tip. So putting it now at the end of the session means I can only get about 5.5 plates on it, as opposed to 7.5, 8. And I do that directly after that top set of pendulum squat. I will go straight into 1 set of walking lunges, and I'll just do a walking set of lunges, body weight, pretty much till I fall over as soon as I get off the pendulum squat. Normally doesn't take very long, which I'm not surprised after doing a full out intensity set of pendulum. And then after I've done that, I will then load up a barbell and do a weighted set of walking lunges as well. So the first set's body weight, effectively a superset from the pendulum. Then I'll take a breather. Second set will be weighted of walking lunges, really focusing on driving my knee over my toe to make it as quad dominant as possible. Finally, I finish with adductor, 2 sets with a drop set on the final set. Again, if you want, I want more quad sweep. Part of getting that is actually developing my adductor on the inner sweep of the leg. Because if I can develop my inner sweep, I can move my legs further apart. That will then push the outer sweep further apart, create a better X-frame whilst not having a thigh gap and keeping everything nice and dense and together, because the last thing you want in bodybuilding is gaps. Finally then, final session of the week, pull. I start this with a single arm lats pull down, so lat bias pull down, just literally single arm on a bench, chest supported, as you've seen 100 times. 2 sets of that, so again, 2 sets per arm, rinsing my lats at the start of the session. Then I go into a bent over row, yeah buddy. Not very yeah buddy-ish, you've seen it before, but that is also an erector loading movement. So now you'll see in my split that I'm loading my erectors twice a week, plenty of recovery time in between. I'm gonna start rowing 4 plates this off season. I'm absolutely adamant I will. I can do 150, very tidy, very comfortable right now. I'm probably gonna ascend 160 this Saturday, see how it feels. And then I'm only, 20-ish kilos off from 180, but I'll get there. It may not be the cleanest set, but I will do it. And then, as you'll see, my favourite superset is back in there again, the Lat Bias seated cable row superset with a pull through. I do it 3 times on this day. Just absolutely, it just minces my entire back. The whole mid, lower lat get absolutely blown up and finished from this. Then I'll go into an upper back pull down to finish the upper back. By this point, my back's unbelievably pumped. I've put some seriously heavy load through it, through the bent over row, because that's loading my erectors for 1, and it's also training my upper back very heavily as well. So that's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I've already done a lat isolation, and then I've just got sort of effectively 3 finishes here, 4 total sets with a drop set that just absolutely finish my back off, blow it up. It's pumped beyond belief, and it's everything I need to get out of my back I have done. Then I'll go on to a shrug, the Atlantis shrug machine. I'll do 2 sets there just because traps, again, need to sort of develop them. A lot of my movements are fairly tight. Like my bent over row, I'm not doing an upright row like a lot of people do. So traps do tend to get a little bit neglected. So putting a little isolation movement in there is all I need to do once a week. Similar with rear delts, I only do rear delts directly once a week, but stuff like the upper back pull down, I'm hitting my rear delts, ROMs, traps anyway, and then just giving them a little touch up with some shrugs in there. Then I will do a bicep curl on the Nitro machine. So that's a single arm isolation movement for the biceps. It's elbow supported here, so I can really get a nice bicep contraction. There's no swinging involved, no delts involved. 3 sets per arm there, so absolutely mincing my biceps. And then I'll do 2 sets on the prime preacher curl, again with a drop set on the final set. Loading wise is the exact same as the other day. So that is the split right now. That is how it is looking. You've seen all those sessions really individually in their own respective videos, but that is how it is laid out overall. I will zoom out a little bit now so you can see it if you want to. It's a little bit too zoomed out, but anybody wants a screenshot of it, go for it. I wouldn't recommend it because it probably won't work for you, but that is what works for me. Works really well. You can see it's the plan for the Olympia. Yeah, buddy. This video's definitely been titled "My Plan to Get to the Olympia." It's not. It's just my training plan that I very much enjoy. Oh, that is unreal. Right then. I'm going to finish this video off with some questions. I've not had that many because I only put this story up about an hour ago. So if you've got your question in time, I appreciate you. Thank you. Right, question one from Nolan Lifts. I know it's a bit broad, but thoughts on deadlifts on a push-pull legs rest split. So that's very similar to what I'm running now. I'm running a push-pull legs variation, just a little bit tweaked to fit my needs. It's very broad, yes. A lot of these questions people have asked are so broad that I can't really give an answer, because all these questions there's no right answer to. There is a right answer based off your physique and your ability to train. Unfortunately, I don't know all of you. I don't know your physiques. I don't know your ability to train. I don't know what equipment you've got access to. I don't know what you're trying to do in life. I don't know if you're trying to, compete, what class you're trying to compete in. Like, I don't know anything, so I can't really give specifics to a lot of these. Do I think deadlifts have a place in push-pull legs? Yeah, of course. In terms of would I put them on push? I wouldn't put them on push. In terms of would I put them on pull or legs? I don't know. That depends on the rest of the split layouts and what's your most lacking body part. If your back is a dramatic weakness, then, or your legs, let's go with your legs, that's an easier answer. If your legs are a dramatic weakness, I wouldn't be deadlifting on leg day. I'd leave that solely for legs and then I'd deadlift on your pull day. If your back's a massive weakness then, and your legs are a strong point, then okay, I'll probably put the more taxing movement like a deadlift on your leg day, because that's going to hit quite a lot of back, and then it leaves your back day solely free to absolutely mince your back. So yes, they have a place. Are they absolutely essential? No. I've never really given hinging a very consistent run. I've done it for maybe 6 to 8 week periods at a time, very sparsely throughout my career. And I've built my physique to a pretty well developed point now without any heavy hinging. In saying that, I have got very strong across certain movements. And right at the beginning of my career, when I was 16, 17, I used to deadlift quite a lot. So that's not a completely true statement, because to be fair, when I was 16, I used to go in the gym and warm up max like every single back day on a deadlift. I could pull like 220 conventional when I was like 16, 17, which I was about 70 kilos. So I guess I got quite strong at it, but it was also purely powerlifting. I was doing like 1 rep sets. So it wasn't great for muscle growth, but it built an all right foundation, I guess. Yeah, they have a place. They're not essential. Based on your physique, they might be necessary. HB Fitness, Mr. Harry Blackburn, how many sets of tomfoolery per week? Asking for a friend. You clearly do too many sets of that on your back day, mate, because your back is lacking and it needs to get brought up. So Harry just won his show last weekend. He's one of my clients. Well done, Harry, mate. Proud of you. He's done 4 shows this season. He's got 1 more to go, a week on Sunday. When this video goes live, actually, I think is the day he's completed his last show. And then we're getting into the off season and we are growing that boy back. George Phillips, do you taper up arm delt volume during a gaining phase, and up to how much? Why specifically arm delt volume? I taper up all my volume during a gaining phase. As food goes up, as potentially PDs go up, as your ability to recover increases, basically, your volume should increase. If you can do more in your sessions, you should, but volume doesn't just mean a quantity of sets, because I would always say, it's what I always say to clients, I would rather a quality set than a vast quantity of sets. Like, it's quality over quantity. I don't want you doing 10 sets of hack squat a week if you can do 2 sets at higher quality. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I do taper up all my volume across the gaining phase. Up to how much? As much as I can tolerate at that time. Again, see what I mean? They're very difficult questions to answer because they're very broad answers. Matteo Roda, sorry if I've butchered your name, mate. He's I don't know where he's from. I should know, I feel like I did know. I want to say Spain, but I'm not sure. He travels to Ultraflex with the few of his lads every year. Shout out you, mate. I appreciate you. Would you advise upper lower to anyone not Ifbb pro level physique? Yes, absolutely. Splits aren't designed for pros and not pros. We all have the same body. We all have the same biomechanics. We all train the same, whether you're a pro or an amateur. I train the exact same now as I did when I was an amateur. The only thing that changes is your specific needs. So chances are if you're not a pro, you're not as well developed, meaning that you need to train more broadly. So yeah, an upper split could absolutely work. When you become a pro, like I am now, for example, I've got very specific things I need to grow because I've got a weight cap, I've got a limit. So that's where my trainings then become a lot more specific. But ultimately, yes, I would. It just depends on whether you need it or not. It's not necessarily if you're a pro or not, it's just do you need it or not is the question you should be asking. Opinion on saving a bit of intra for immediately post-training. Seen Patrick Tor applying it. This is from Jacob, one of my clients as well. I'm sure he's got reasoning for it. Ultimately, I would just say your intra is written in your plan for intra. If you then want to add a post-workout shake on top, do that. But I wouldn't save what is programmed as intra for post-workout, if that makes sense. If you want to do that, or if your coach wants you to do that, absolutely do it. But I wouldn't just save your intra, because then it's like, how much intra are you saving for post-workout? Say you've got 30 grams in a litre of water and you save only like 200 mil. Come the end of the workout, if you've only got, what is that, 1/5, like 6 grams of carbs post-workout, realistically, what is that doing? Okay, you may as well just drink it as intra, and then if it's going to be a long time before your post-workout meal, absolutely, I would recommend getting a shake in of some carbs and some protein, just to start to replenish that glycogen you've just lost. But for most people, a lot of my clients anyway, I'd hope, right, I do say, so I would hope so, that they're eating their post-workout meal within about an hour or less of finishing training. In that case, I'd say you're absolutely fine. You don't need to worry about having an extra 6 or 10 grams of carbs post-workout. That's not going to be life-changing. Unless Patrick Chaw's programming like 100 grams of carbs intra-workout, then yeah, sure. If you've got 100 grams of carbs of intra-workout, I'd probably drink maybe like 50 intra and 50 directly post-workout, personally. But again, it's as and when needed. It depends on your meal plan, depends on who you are and what you're trying to do. Right, I'm going to leave that there because I'm very conscious this has probably become quite a long video and it's very one-dimensional of me just talking at you, which is probably quite boring. So I'll wrap it up there. That is my split. That is how I'm going to get to the Olympia at some point. Probably not next year, but at some point we'll get there. 20% 20 or 25% off all ESN whey protein. Go get at it. Code Eagles. Like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and I'll catch you then.
I'm so beautiful without you. Now my skin glows and it shines like glue. I'm pretty without